Let me share my screen back up here. All right. So, ready to get started, y'all?
Yes.
I do ask that parents and students that are joining us, if you guys can stay on mute. We will have questions at the end. So we're going to try to get through all the information as quickly as we can so we don't take up too much of your time. But just try to stay on mute. That way we can all get through this quickly and efficiently. So first up, sorry, go ahead, Ms. Loggins.
No, and I was just going to say, go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay.
I was just going to, again, thank you guys for making the time to be here with us this afternoon, evening, on a Friday evening. No, it's not easy, and thank you so very much, first and foremost. My name is Jessica Loggins. I'm officially the Director of Bands for Sweeney ISD. My primary job is to head up the high school band, but I also definitely have my hands in the pot in helping make sure that these kiddos get set up on the right instrument, as well as help out as much as possible at the junior high level. So I teach the woodwind classes and then assist with the 2 ensemble classes that we have there. In addition to that, I'm here at home. I kicked my 3 children out of the house with dad, or they would be crawling all over me. So depending on how long this remote environment kind of exists, I have no doubt that each of you will get the wonderful pleasure of meeting them firsthand with their face in the camera. And they are she's going to be a 5th grader. I've got a going into 1st grade and one still that is itty bitty. She's just 2. So they're spread out and and balance and life and parenting and job and kid involved. Thank you so much for being here, because I know it's not always easy.
I'm Miss Mitchell. I'm the director of the junior high bands. I conduct the top group at the junior high, the symphonic band, and I teach the beginner percussion and brass classes. I don't have kids, but I do have 2 fellow children. One of them likes to sit back here. That's where he's always at when I Zoom. The other one's probably hiding under the bed somewhere. But this will be my 7th year of teaching that we're fixing to start after summer. My 4th year in Sweeney. Super excited to be here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Wagasback.
So yeah, I'm Mr. Wagasback, and I'm a trombonist. I play in the local symphony orchestra as well as the Brazosport Big Band. So a little bit of a jazzer, but this is my 2nd year at Sweeney, and this is the 2nd year period for Sweeney to have 3 directors. So it's a good time to be joining band at this time, because because we have more people to be able to give a little bit more one-on-one instruction for music, which music takes a lot of one-on-one. So the more the merrier. I'm glad to be here. But with that, let's go ahead and go to that next slide. And so speaking of beginner band, having more people helps, because all of our classes are split up into homogeneous groups. So all of their like instruments will be together. So we have our flute and percussion in the same class because they both read treble clef music, but we'll split up our flute in one area and our percussionists in another area. That way, like instruments work together. So our each instruments class is going to be led by one of the directors, one of us. I specialize with low brass. Miss Mitchell is going to be more of the high brass and percussion, and Loggins is our woodwind specialist, our wonderful clarinetist that we have. But at the beginning of the year, beginner band students are going to need to learn how to read music. So in addition to playing an instrument, we don't play everything by ear. That's an important skill, but really you're going to be reading a lot of music. And so it's a whole new type of written language, but we're going to take you through the process of learning it one step at a time. And yeah, you'll have a whole new skill that is valuable. I was going to say invaluable, but no, it's very valuable. Priceless, a priceless skill at the end of it. But then, yeah, you'll also learn how to maintain your instruments, because at the end of this presentation, we'll be going over you're actually getting instruments and those things. You need to take good care of them. So we will actually teach you how to take care of them so that they last you. They can last you a lifetime. If you take good care of your instrument, it can be your instrument companion for a long, long time. So we will teach you all of that this next year.
Yeah, and just a note is that just know and be aware that there are many school districts that we work with, that we compete against with, where the classes are not homogenous, and so you've got everything in the same bucket. And well, good luck. And so that's something that we're really fortunate here in Sweeney, that the counselors and the administrative staff have supported the band program to be able to set the kids up for the most success possible by able instrument grouping the kiddos.
All right, so moving on.
All right, so the calendar. When this whole COVID situation started, I did not deal very well because my calendar is set for months in advance. And so we have done our best to set the dates that we can at this time. Obviously, there's a lot in the air. As far as what we can and cannot do here in the future. And I know those decisions are going to start coming throughout the summer. So know that we will give you the information as soon as we are able to. And we work as well as we can with all of the coaching staff and all of the other extracurricular teachers that we have on the campus to make sure that we don't have any conflicts. But sometimes it might happen and something might fall through the gaps and you will find that your kid is overbooked, and we don't want to see that happen. We don't want band to be a stressor for you guys. We want you guys to enjoy every single aspect that it is that we have and that we're able to share with them. So if you see something that is slipping through the cracks, that it might very well be that we're all three have been very human and have missed it. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us and say, hey, my kid has X, Y, and Z and element OP, and I'm just trying to find some balance, and and we'll do everything it is that we can to work with those coaches and work with those extra sponsors and do everything we can to make sure that that band is as enjoyable as possible, again, from every capacity.
And the biggest dates on our calendar are, of course, our concerts. So since we are a performing group, concerts are the most important thing we do all year. They are considered major grades. They're weighted heavily. Imagine like if you're on any kind of sports team and you went to every single practice, but you never showed up for a game. That's kind of like what not showing up to the concert would be like. So we highly encourage everybody that can attend to come to our concerts. As a parent, it's really cool to see at the beginning of each concert, like the kids sitting on the stage and all of them are just like looking around trying to find like, where is mom? Where is dad? Where's the camera? So they really want to see you there, and you really want to see how much progress they make throughout the year. Like when we get them in August, they won't know how to do a single thing. And by the time you see them at their first concert, you're going to be like, who is this child? Who am I raising? So our first concert is one of those dates that we do have planned. It's our beginner winter recital. So all of our instrument groups will play different songs for you. And that is Thursday, December 10th. So you can go ahead and put that one on your calendar. The spring concert, we're waiting for a few things to settle, like testing dates and other spring activities, and also just things going around because reasons. But it usually is in May. So just know that will be coming up too. But those are our two big concert days for our beginners.
Yeah, and as was mentioned before, our beginners are split up into individual instrument classes. So whenever they need to get together for full band to be able to practice for those concerts, we might have to meet for after school. Now, generally, we are going to try to meet during school if we can. This last year, we had our advisory class, and we were able to pull all of the beginner band students in for advisory. We're looking at something different for this next year, so we still have to work around that. So we might have to ask them to come in for 1 or 2 after-school rehearsals. That will just be a chance for them to play with the full band, so every instrument that we have at the school all together at once before we actually do those concerts.
Yeah, and we'll do our best. We might even try to send them home fed for you. So one less thing for you to have to do. And also, just as the program grows and grows, every single year our beginner class seems to get bigger. And so then that also is a factor of how many kids we have to shuffle into the band hall and how long that tutorial class period is and what it is that we're able to utilize the tutorial class period time for too. So it goes into it. So practicing. We like to encourage the kids to practice 20 minutes, 100 minutes a week. And this last year, the last couple of years, we've given them a grade on that. So every minute that you practice is a point in the bank for your daily grade. the way we break it down for the kids, for them to hopefully understand a little bit better. It's just 5 days, about 20 minutes a day. The more they practice, the more they're going to enjoy it. The more they enjoy it, the more they'll want to stick with it. And again, we want this band thing to be it's going to be something they're going to have to work hard at. It might be one of the hardest things that your kid ever does, but we promised we're going to be there right by their side, or at least 6 feet apart, if that's what we need to do, to help them as much as possible, so that way they can continue with the program. But if you could do your part to help make sure, be like, hey, I haven't heard you play your horn in a while, then that might be a really good conversation starter for you guys. Another way that I like to, I'm a pretty visual person, so I love this graphic right here that I've seen in a lot of the ELA classrooms, and this pretty much sums it up. We want all of our band kids to be child A. We know that there's going to be some B's and some C's in there too, but if we can get them just replace reading for practicing 20 minutes 5 days a week, then they're going to be definitely heading in the right direction and making some really substantial progress that's going to set them up for the future.
So communication, this is a really big thing for us. One of the biggest ways that we communicate is going to be through our newsletters. You've already received one. There'll be a lot more coming. So we send out newsletters at the beginning of each progress report period, which is essentially every 3 weeks, to help you keep you up to date on current events in the band hall. We may occasionally send out some special editions if we have something specific we need to talk about, kind of like the ones that you've gotten. The beginner ones are kind of our special editions. We also use Remind. This is a great way to have more instantaneous contact. You can send us quick questions, quick messages. It's a great way for us, like if we're on a trip or something, to say like, hey, we'll be back to Sweeney in 30 minutes. Make sure you have plans for that. It's a great way to do things automatically. So make sure you're signed up for the correct class. I know that some of you have already done this, but I do want to go ahead and offer you an opportunity to do this. So if you have your phone, go ahead and grab it. If you're a beginner band parent, you're going to send a text message to this number, 81010, with this message at SJHBEGPAR for beginner parents. So that's the beginner parents group. And I see that we have a couple students on here. So if you are a student, you're going to sign up for a different group. So it's still the same number, but it's a different code. So it's at SJHBBSTU for beginner band student. You do not need to be a part of both groups. We ask that parents sign up for the parent group, students sign up for the student group, and that's because Remind they do have class limit sizes, or class size limits, and so we don't want everyone to join both, because then we're going to run out of room for people. So we do usually send out the same messages to both groups, but that way it's just easier for us to split it up a bit.
Right, and that being said, I see that there's a lot of you who are on your phones and you're in between places and whatnot. Just a reminder, this recording is going to be made available, and if you got the email that has this information on it, then you'll get the email with all of these kind of things pulled out into it as well, just so that way you can click on a link later. So
yeah, we'll be sending out another special edition newsletter with all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. And
all right.
So at any point during the year, if you need to contact us for any reason at all, email is going to be your best way to reach us. We are always running around places, and even if that phone goes off in the office, which we're one of the few places in the junior high that has a phone, but if we hear it, it's that's rare, because we have a large band in front of us, like blaring music at us, so we might not hear the phones. So email us, and even if you need to speak with us about something and you want it to be a phone call, email us and we will set up a time to have a conference call. That would be the best way to go about that. Also, if we don't respond to you within 72 hours, like we usually try to respond within 24 to 48 hours, but as Ms. Loggins mentioned earlier, with this remote learning things, and she's got 3 kids there, I've got other things here. Sometimes this happened this spring. I opened up an email, I was in my work mood, but then we're at home and something home life was like, hey, I'm right here. And I forgot all about an email, and it's like, 5 days later, saw my email. So if we don't get to you within 72 hours, please reach out to us. We do want to talk to you. We just may have made a very human error.
Another way that you can kind of stay connected to what it is that we're doing and how it is that we're pushing out information is to find us on Facebook. So there's a couple of different Facebook pages that you can sign up for to get notifications on through your personal profile. Is Sweeney ISD Band, and that's used mostly to kind of highlight the kids and what it is that they've achieved and how they're progressing. But the other one that we need you to kind of plug into is the Sweeney Band Parent Organization page. Sweeney Band Parent Organization, you are officially a member of. And so we will be calling on you guys to kind of help us out with some things behind the scenes. We understand that not everyone is able to make a full-time commitment to the band program in terms of, let's say, signing up for a band officer. Like, I'm not ready to run the organization, but I know I will be able to fit some time in to help you guys on a much lower level, and that could be definitely useful. And so you'll definitely want to take the time to plug into those Facebook groups.
And Mr. Wagsback is going to copy and paste those links into the chat as well for the band Facebook page, the Band Parents Organization Facebook page, and then included on an upcoming newsletter, there'll be a survey. So he's going to go ahead and post a link in that as well. So if you have a minute to fill that out, you can do that while you're listening. Ms. Loggins?
Oh, sorry. I was processing. Okay. All right. Now I have another window open. I don't want to open. So sorry about that, guys. All right. So financial information is that the couple of investments that we're going to ask you to make at the beginning as for the band t-shirt and the band book. We are looking for an option to cover those expenses so it's less on your plate of a financial commitment, because we know that getting your kids set up on this instrument is number one priority for all of us. So the instruments that we ask you guys as parents to take the lead on making the investment on are going to be the flute, the clarinet, the saxophone, the trumpet, the trombone, and percussion. And percussion is going to be a little bit different than it has been to set the kids up for, again, more success. And we're going to have that information pushed out. And again, in that newsletter, that's going to line item and detail all of that out. The other instruments that we have for school-owned rental, which is a $50 fee, is going to go towards the French horn, the baritone, and the tuba. Those are definitely school-owned instruments that it is that we take the expense on, and then we ask for you to just help cover the maintenance fees of them. That being said, don't let finances be the reason that your kid cannot have this opportunity, because they filled out the form, and they you know, it seemed like we had a really great excitement of those kids coming through our band hall whenever we had that event, and all the kids were in the school, the junior high campus, and we don't want them to miss out on this opportunity. So if you're in a position that you feel like the financial investment necessary for your kid to continue with this program, please, please, please reach out to one of the three of us, so that way we can try to help problem solve. We have some, what I affectionately call our musical angels, that help make sure that the kids who are not able to financially make that investment are still able to fully participate in every capacity, just as everybody else can. But it's just going to take communication on y'all's end of thing. Let us know if there's a situation that we need to help with.
So something fun. So we do like to try to take our beginners on a spring trip, which didn't happen this year because reasons. But typically we take a trip up to Katy. So we put them on a bus and with their instruments and their music, and we take them to the Katy Classic Beginner Band Festival. So they'll go to Katy High School. They have a really nice auditorium that they get to play in. They'll play for a judge and even have a chance to earn a trophy, which is a pretty cool thing. We have all the trophies hanging up in our band hall and in trophy cases throughout our school. And then once they play, we take them to lunch at Cece so they can stuff themselves full of pizza. And then we take them to main event where they can play laser tag and bowling and play arcade games. And it's a really fun time. Now, there are requirements to go on the trip. This is really our first opportunity to start showing our kids the full extent of things they have to do to be able to perform fully as a band member. And a lot of these are the same things you would see in athletics or any of our other fellow fine arts teachers for requirements on traveling with us. This is all straight from our Sweeney Band Handbook. This applies to every kid in band. So the biggest thing is no pass, no play, which is a Texas law. And it's students must pass the concurrent 9 weeks with 70 or higher in every class. So that means that on the report card that happens before the trip, they have to be passing every single class, not just band, but math and science and everything else too. they have to turn in their forms. So there'll be like a medical release form, permission slips, and then there usually is a small payment that goes along with the trip as well, just to cover a few of our costs. And again, those are things that we're looking into figuring out ways to help you guys out with that too. Just got to communicate. They have to attend all scheduled sectionals or practices. So like Mr. Wagsback talked about before, if we have an after-school rehearsal, they have to be at the rehearsal to go to the performance. And then to kind of go back to our football analogy, you can't show up to the game if you didn't go to any of the practices. So it has to be a little bit of both. They cannot have been sent to DAEP at any time. They cannot have received an office referral from a band director during the semester in which the trip occurs. And they can't have received more than 3 days of ISS in each semester. So the big reasons for that is because when we travel, we're not just representing us, they're representing the Sweeney ISD band, they're representing the junior high and the school district as a whole. And we want to make sure that we are putting ourselves in the best light possible. So we need to make sure we're taking students that we can trust on these trips. So those are the big reasons for that. And then, because it is, at the end of the day, a music trip, they have to perform their music at, they're going to have to perform the music for us. That way we know that we're not going to put them on a stage and they're just going to sit there and hold their instrument. They're going to have to perform with the group. So, but we give lots of chances for those kinds of things. It's not just going to be like a you're in or you're out type of thing. We are more than happy to make modifications on stuff like that, but they do have to be able to play the music to perform on the trip. So we are going to take a quick commercial break here. If Ms. Loggins or Mr. Wagsback, if one of you could post the link to this. Immediately after our commercial break, we will be talking about the instruments. But this is just a quick form for you guys to fill out. It's contact information, a little more in depth than what we had on the beginner band evaluation form. So if you can please fill that out to the best of your ability, I'll give you a minute to do that. And then we'll jump back into the instruments.
I can like hear the waiting music.
Get some elevator music or doctor's waiting room music on.
That last thing was a sax. It was a very smooth jazz sax.
I also like how much my phone's blowing up with people joining the Remind. So thank you guys for being on top of that.
Good.
Oh, we have our first Loggins child sighting. See, we told you it was going to happen soon.
Yes, this is two of my three. And yes, I have no shame. I just gave my baby a phone to play with to distract her. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Give you guys just another minute or two to fill that out. Just make sure you click submit at the bottom so that we get all that information saved.
All right, and as they're finishing up, I think Mr. Wagsback, if you can go ahead and go on to the next slide.
Yes, alrighty. So now on to what most of us are here to, the big ticket item on our agenda. So purchasing instruments. We recommend making any and all instrument purchases or rentals through one of our approved vendors. These companies are who we buy our supplies from and send our instruments to be repaired. And we are always satisfied with the results. They also have the official Sweeney band list of recommended brands and models, so you can be sure what you're getting is quality. If you find an instrument online and would like a professional opinion on it, please feel free to send us a link and we will tell you whether it is a quality instrument or not. Not all brands are created equally, and many repair stores will not touch cheaply made instruments. So along those lines, right, there are lots of, if you just type in trumpet, you're going to get a lot of results. And
we'll
go over some specifics.
To figure that out later too.
Yeah, we'll go over some specifics in a bit, but just well, let's just get the information. I'll hold that thought. I'm going to hold my thought.
Yeah. All right. So one of the two different vendors that we work with, Music and Arts and Collins Music stores, are known for their quality and their customer service. Collins Music Center, they have a location here in Lake Jackson, And they also, again, have that list of recommended supplies that it is that we're asking of you to make that investment for. Music and arts also is in the advantage of going with music and arts. Here's a couple. The nearest location that they have is in Alvin. That's not the advantage. The advantage is that you can place your order online and select for them to just deliver it to the school once school back and going. And they also have a vendor who comes and visits school once a week. And more so if we need that to happen. Let's say that the instrument kind of is needs there to happen. So you communicate with the store, we communicate with the store, what okays it, and we send it with the representative from those locations to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not having to run all over town to see, hey, when am I going to be able to make it to Lake Jackson to get this instrument there and fixed? And when am I going to be able to, like, how long is it going to be? Like, it's not a factor of your after school life that I know has a lot involved in it.
Yep.
So those are definitely advantages. At this point, as far as I understand, Collins does not have the online offer, but again, they are the most local store that we work with. And that is always,
Mm-hmm.
there hasn't been any situation that we've questioned anything that comes out of either one of those locations.
And I know
both
Collins,
companies
there's no
offer-
online. I was gonna say you can call them. They will. You could set up your purchase over the phone, and if you wanted to go in person to like finish it and see it or whatever, but you can call them and set up they'd be happy to do a lot of that on the phone. But then you're still gonna have to do credit check and all that. So you're giving personal information over the phone. But I'm just gonna.
Right. And so both of the companies offer rent to own, so that'll be a lower monthly payment that will go towards the investment. And then with percussion only, you can also go through Lone Star Percussion. Now, the percussion class, typically we would get them, ask them to invest in a tiny bell kit. Just to make it easier to kind of go back and forth. But now that we are in the position to make the investment to have more of the bigger keyboards available to the students at school, we're asking for those percussionists to also make that investment to have a little bit bigger of a keyboard. Now, it's not going to be full-size xylophone that you see set up in the band hall, but it is going to be what we call a practice. If you want to make the full purchase outright, Lone Star Percussion is going to be the easiest way to go for that. And I'm not remembering for certain if they have a rent to own or not. I think they do, but I definitely know that music and arts. So percussionists are going to want to, and anyway, all of this stuff, we're going to have the flyers and the information out to you, but just know that these are the reputable music companies that are here in the area for you to work with.
And speaking of reputable, this is information that's based on a survey of band directors, so people that know what they're talking about. And there are specific brands that we recommend. Each of those stores has our specific brands that we want, but like if you have a family member that has something, or like you find something online and it's one of these brands that you see for flute, clarinet, alto saxophone, trumpet, or trombone, know that it's a trustworthy thing. That being said, if you don't see the brand on this list, it's probably not a good investment, which leads us into stencil instruments. This is a kind of a dirty word in the band community. So a stencil instrument is called such because it's a design that's based on another brand's instrument. So they're essentially copying it. They are mass produced and they usually come from factories in East Asia. They differ from established manufacturers who literally have been in this game for generations. So like Yamaha, Bach, Gemeinhardt, these are all very reputable brands that professionals, play on their instruments, but they also make student instruments. Like Mr. Waxback mentioned before, repair technicians may not even be able to repair these stencil instruments because they don't use standard parts. So you could think that you're getting a deal, but then it's like when you have to make a repair and it costs more than the instrument itself. It's not going to be a good deal. So if it seems like it's too good to be true, it is. I just for research sake looked on Amazon and just typed in like trumpet and clarinet, because I love Amazon and I've spent way too much on it the past like 3 months or so. So I understand the ease of ordering things on Amazon.
Yep.
But if you find like a clarinet or a trumpet like that, or any instrument on there, it's probably not going to be your best bet. Things to look out for if you do try to shop online: if it's any random color like pink or blue or green, that's not going to be a good instrument. That's not going to be something that's going to sound good. It might look good, but it's not going to sound good. If it comes with white gloves, I'm not sure why, but for some reason, a lot of makers of these not so great instruments decide to include gloves, and that's another sign that it's not going to be a good instrument. If it comes with like a ridiculous amount of supplies, like if it's like, oh, it's a clarinet and it has a box of reeds and this and that and this and that, and it still only costs like $100, that's not going to be a good investment. A good instrument, it's just like, so say if you were trying to learn how to drive, it's like, obviously you want to be like in a normal car, and they're like, oh, here's some Hot Wheels for you to learn how to drive. That's essentially the difference between these things. It's like, it's not going to work. Your kid's not going to have a good experience. They're not going to like the way they sound. It's better to make the investment into something that costs a little bit more, so they're going to have a better time, instead of giving them something that's going to break almost the minute that they open it.
Right. And mentioned very early on in our beginner classes, we teach them how to maintain them. It is very important to us that, you know, your student and your child is going to treat that instrument with respect. So we don't let them get the instruments out until we teach them how to open the case, how to put it together. We will teach them how to handle it with care. So I know that there's always a lot of concern with the money in it. Another thing I was going to throw in, and this is why I was waiting till this information came out, eBay. So you can find reputable companies' instruments on eBay, but sometimes those instruments are already beyond repair. So you might find like a $200 Bach trumpet, but the valves aren't going to move, but you have all that really nice metal, so that's why it's still worth $200. So
just it's a reputable brand, like we said.
Right, it's a reputable brand, but the instrument itself might not be in good repair. Also, there's counterfeits on eBay. So if you find something on eBay, like I've had friends find really good things on eBay, but just reach out to us. But if you have a question about it, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't.
So that, to kind of end it, here's like a few fun things, just some pictures from our band kids from the out year. We're so excited for them to have this opportunity, for them to go win some awards with us, to go on fun trips with us, to perform with us. And I think at this point we're pretty much done. Are we good to open for questions?
Yeah, no, my standard line as far as what instrument you're gonna get, if you can buy milk at that same store, it's probably not a good idea to buy a musical instrument. So, but yeah, if you're good with the information that you've received, again, like we're gonna be pushing out a newsletter and sources of information, and this recording and the flyers from the different from Music and Arts and Collins, to make sure that you guys can make an informed decision about making the investment for your kid to be in band. So if you do not have any questions, you are welcome to sign off with us right now. And if you do have some questions that you want to ask, just go ahead and stick around, and we'll get to you.
Yeah.
Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Or if you don't want to talk, you can chat. Type it in the chat.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and stop sharing screen so we can see each other a little bit better too.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We really appreciate the time that you took to make sure that you were getting all this information straight from us.
Yes, thank you.
Are you our official like DJ, Mr. Wagenstack?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only thing we need in the background, is that we need just like
some
musical interludes. I mean, we're a music program.
Yeah, the downside though is that whenever we would try to like upload the music to the video to YouTube, then it would yell at us.
That's a great question.
When purchasing, are there?
So there are not sizes. Yeah. The only one that would have a size would be tuba, but again, that's a school-owned instrument. So anything else is just going to be a standard size.
Yep. The only exception, I guess, flutes. You don't need to worry about paying the extra for that B extension. And if that confuses you, just let that information go over your head. But yeah, there's some small things, but there aren't different sizes. Short answer, no.
I believe that me and Ms. Ragsback have attempted to make calls to everybody, and I know that there are a lot of places that we left voicemails for, so you may need to check your voicemail for messages. But last time I checked, we had contacted everybody, I believe. But if
Yeah.
you need
And
to,
there's 3 that I know I need to call. So if you're
and
one of those
those
3,
just happened like the other day, so
if
I
there,
don't think they're in the call
yeah,
right now anyway.
cool.
Yeah, and if you want to, I have a couple of parents who are privately sending me a message on chat. So if you want to feel more comfortable kind of sending a private message to either Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Ragespeck, or myself about
Yeah.
with some contact information that it's perhaps we're working off of the wrong contact information, then you're welcome to do that as well. That's an option for you on your end of things.
And let me,
Okay. And again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to unmute and we'll ask away.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, my son is going to be into football. So, how does that affect the band as well?
At this point, it totally doesn't. But that being said, my first year here in Sweeney, actually the first couple of years, there was a kid who was on the varsity football team. He played offense and defense, and he marched with us at halftime. So it's just a matter of how much work they're willing to kind of put into the balancing act and communicate. Once they get to the high school level, it's definitely going to weigh heavily on just communicating with the band director and the football coach. So that way we know when to expect them. This last year, we had a couple of freshman football guys, and even Coach Lynch was reaching out to me and was like, oh, hey, Loggins, we've got these guys. What are you doing? And so we would work out the schedule so that way it wasn't a conflict for the kids. Like we worked that out ahead of time so that I was one less thing that the kid had to kind of like communicate with either one of us about.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have kids playing every sport just about, so we have a lot of great representation throughout the band in the athletic community too.
My mom asked if like do we have any practice on Tuesday?
Okay.
Jackie, I think you froze.
Oh. Yeah, and are we good to buy mouthpieces for the school? Yes, so long as it's one of the ones that's recommended. And again, if you go straight through Music and Arts or Collins, they'll have the recommended list if you call them, or if you go to their store and say, hey, my kid is signed up to play the baritone at Sweeney Junior High, and I want to get his supplies, then that's definitely something that they're going to be able to help you out with, and it will push out that recommended list to you guys again as well. All right, Jackie, you want to try again, sweetheart?
Hi. Like, which days do we have practice, and do we also have practice on Saturdays and concerts?
So your main practice as a beginner is actually just going to happen during the school day. Like it's not going to be like marching band or anything like that where you have practice after school. But as a beginner, everything is going to happen just about during the school day. And we won't have anything on Saturdays typically either.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Jackie. Remus, do you have a question?
Answered all your questions. You're not going to hurt our feelings if you kind of bail on us. So you're welcome to any.
Miss Mitchell, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor is chosen to play flute.
Mm-hmm.
When we're looking at the instruments, I noticed one of the brands was the Pearl brand on the
I was just
brand
about to respond.
Okay. I didn't
Just saw
realize
that.
that's private. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Do we want student? Do we want it to say student on the instrument when we're buying?
Typically, a lot of the models that we're recommending are student brands. If your kids decide to stick with band for a long time, you may eventually upgrade to other instruments. But if it says student, then that usually means it's going to be okay too, as long as it's one of those recommended brands.
And these
Okay.
Pearl flutes, if it's the one I'm seeing, I haven't seen this company, but I need to do more research into them to say yes or no. I haven't seen this company, but they don't look awful. But I also just
What's
let me
the name of the? And Mr. Waxback, if you could share that information with me as well, it might be something that I may or may not be more familiar with. But we can definitely give you a more definitive answer. We'll look into it for you.
Yeah, like pearl flutes, and I'm seeing like Flute Center of New York carries them. Woodwind, brass wind. I wonder if it's the same pearl as like pearl percussion, but I don't.
Pearl flute should be okay.
Yeah, it's looking.
What is the top recommended brand for flute?
Here, let me share that screen with you. I just pulled that chart back up here. Let's see. Oh, wrong side. So Pearl is actually a very recommended
Hey.
flute brand.
Hey,
These are
there you go.
typically,
Hey.
like you see, Yamaha is usually really good.
Yeah.
Yamaha's one of those companies that they can make instruments, they can make sound things, they can make jet skis, and they're good at everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pearl is an okay flute brand for sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because the Yamaha are pretty pricey.
Yeah, they start about $1,000. So
Mhm.
Right, and that's one of the nice things though about the rent to own is you only have to pay a little bit each month, and then once you pay off all those payments to get up to like that $1,000, you own the instrument, but you're not having to pay the $1,000 up front.
Okay.
So that's another reason why we recommend going through Music and Arts or Collins is because you're not having to just like
Yeah,
buy the instrument.
And
It's little bits of the
yeah.
instrument at a time.
and they're pretty. They do get there's like a small bit of a finance like like interest on it, but like it's not a high interest, and they try to work with they know how many beginners need instruments every year, so that they work with people.
Yeah, 'cause all the people at these
Okay.
companies are band kids too, so they just want people to be in
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
Some really great questions. Thank you guys for sharing those questions with us.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can Haley use the same bell kit Misty used?
So that's one of the things that Miss Loggins was referring to is that we're actually taking a different direction with our beginner percussion class.
Okay.
There will be some things that overlap, like the practice pad should still be okay. But we are transitioning because we are making the investment into get some more marimbas in the junior high band hall. That way, instead of just playing on the bell kit during class and at home, they're getting to play like the real instruments. So that's why for the percussion, it's actually listed as a practice marimba. So it's essentially like a slightly smaller marimba that they'll get to set up in their room, and that way they're not just like playing on this much when at school they're playing this much.
Okay.
And that's another reason why the stick bag is included too, just because each of the different mallet instruments takes different sticks, as I'm sure Misty is very aware of too.
Yeah.
So we're just
Okay.
going a different way. That way the kids will be more prepared for later years of band too.
Okay.
She can still use the bell kit just for practice though, just for funsies. It's just not the thing that we're recommending for this year.
Hmm.
The marimba will hopefully be a slightly more pleasant sound than the bell kit and that lovely pinging sound.
Yeah, and that's the biggest reason we're going to is like they can learn their notes and they can play a lot of stuff, but then like they can't learn to roll notes on their bell kits very
Yeah, it's just
well.
obnoxious on the bells.
Exactly. But if they roll on a marimba, they're gonna it'll just
like an
be better
actual
for
thing.
them yeah. So that's why we're taking that turn. I think a lot of those now that we're just kind of just discourse about it with those percussion practice marimbas, I saw some at TMEA where you can also buy like part one, and then it's almost like an IKEA thing. You can buy like the second set of range years down the road and have your own full range practice marimba. So like you can buy each little part, like this first year
Like
we're only
a
looking
grow
for
with
that.
you sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Grow with you. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. It's really cool.
It's like when you get to like take apart the crib and then it looks more like a bed, but now it's a
Yeah.
marimba.
So where do we get the instrument if we're gonna buy it and not rent it?
Well, we recommend renting it because that's going to be the best financial option usually. And if you look previously, we have those vendors, and I'll pull that slide back up too.
Yeah, but
And those
also
same-
you can buy those instruments from Music and Arts and Collins as well.
Yes. Yeah,
And
so
if you
Music
buy-
and Arts or Collins are going to be the places that we recommend. Because, Anna, you're playing the clarinet, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so either Music and Arts or Collins will have that clarinet available for you.
And if you buy it
Okay.
outright, you do save a couple hundred on it. But once again, like we always do kind of recommend the rent thing, but that's a decision that y'all make. But yeah,
Those
if you
links
really
to those
do want to
stores
buy
will be included on the newsletter that's coming out too. Lots of stuff is going to be on the newsletter. That's the way we like to do things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for asking.
You're welcome.
If can we buy the instruments at Guitar Center?
No, they.
no,
My dad's a guitar player, and as a kid, I used to love going there and like looking at all the stuff. And then I was always disappointed at the complete and utter lack of band things at Guitar
yeah,
Center.
there's
They
not
have,
enough
like,
band stuff
Disney
there.
songs for trombone, but they're not going to have like actual trombones. So, yeah, that's not going to be a place that you'll be able to get the band instruments from, unfortunately.
Now, if you're going to Guitar Center, which is, I know there's like, so you're going to be in the Houston area, there is a place called, starts with an F. It's where I got my trumpet. Flynn's Music Shop, I believe. But they specialize in used instruments, and they'll refurbish them. So they're like, and they do the same kind of financing thing, but that's also in Houston. We didn't put it on the list, but I might throw it in there, but it's not as local.
Yeah, it's
But
not
they
someone that we
specialize in-
personally do work with, so that's why we're not
Right.
like recommending them as much as Music and Arts and Collins. Those are
Right.
ones that like we have personal experience with,
Mhm.
not just like us personally, but like as a school band program.
Right, exactly.
Right, and again, those are the same companies that we send our instruments off for all of our school-owned instruments, and never been disappointed with the quality of service when it comes to customer service and just good people wanting to help
Yeah.
kids be in band.
Yep.
Alrighty, I
Yeah.
feel like there should be like a going once, going twice thing. Like
I know, I was
feel
about to say,
I'm
like-
showing my inner like.
It's like if there's not any more questions, then I know that we probably all have things to get to, and you're always free to contact us if you're like, wait, like I end the call and it's like, wait, I did think of something. You've got our emails. You've got a lot of you are on Remind already now, so you can message me on there and send any of those questions my way. And if it's something for the good of the cause, we'll include it on the newsletter. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for coming out. We're so glad to see you guys and for you taking the time to be here. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the call.
Thank y'all so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
for
very
being
much.
here.
You have a good night.
Lucas is very excited, so thank y'all so much for hosting this tonight.
Of course, we're excited to have him. He's one of my horn
Yeah.
players, right?
Yes, ma'am, he is, and he's itching. He wants it now, and he's so excited.
Awesome.
That is what we love to hear.
Yeah. So thank y'all for taking time and reaching out to us. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Good.
And we're
Y'all
always
have a
here for
great
you.
weekend. Yes, ma'am.
too.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
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 All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you very much for the help.
Of course, Jackie. We're always here to help.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.